Post-lunch speaker is going to be Amy Flatt. She'll be talking to us about Python for the class of 2023.
Hi everyone, I'm a 5th grade teacher in Metro Nashville Public Schools, and I'm here today to talk about my experience with the Python community and how we can best reach children in public schools with the message of Python. Now, most of my slides are going to be sort of like this. It's to keep 5th graders occupied. That's what I'm used to, so I'm picturing you all that way for just a minute. So, was it Kismet or luck? We don't know. You all can probably figure out philosophically, but since I am a mathematics and science teacher, I believe that it is scientifically possible for us to deconstruct what happened over the last few years and to possibly be able to recreate it so that we could bring Python and programming and other wonderful technology to more students. A little bit of sociology. Please support your local sociologist. I imagine you'll find a few of them here at Ohio State University. I had the privilege of attending the STEM think tank at Harpeth Hall. Harpeth Hall is a girls' school in Nashville, Tennessee. We pulled people from all over the world. We had people, just like you all do, from Australia. We also had some people from Korea. It was amazing, and it was all about girls' education. And it's just good pedagogy to know how to teach different populations that you're dealing with. One of the things that we know about girls, and they were looking at math scores, but you can translate this to other things. We know that girls are outperforming boys in math right now in our public schools. It's not by a whole lot, it's just a little bit. But when you ask the girls, are you good at math? They say, no, I am not. They're higher than the boys. When you ask the boys, are you good at math? They say, yes, I am. So there's this divide. The boys feel confident, the girls don't. And that lack of confidence is causing a break in the pipeline. It's causing problems getting those girls into STEM fields, including programming, including Python. And we want for the Python community to be the most diverse technology community. Sociology 102. This is the time to commit sociology. Who are the people teaching our girls and boys in our schools? What gender are most of them? Same sort of divide that you have there, a confidence divide. We can take the teachers and the ones, let's take elementary school for instance. Let's talk about math, one of my favorite subjects. All right, take a teacher that doesn't feel good about math, and she's teaching 2nd graders. Her lack of confidence is contagious for her girls. And so where we need to change the future is by changing the presence and by changing pedagogy for our teachers, changing the way that they teach kids by teaching them and by helping them feel confident about what they're teaching. Because most of them do know what they're doing. We are actually not a tabula rasa. We are not a blank slate. We have our own problems and issues that have to be worked through, but your community was successful in reaching me. And so I'm here to say thank you today and to get to celebrate with you. And so that's part of the privilege of this. Here's how I got my start. I began with Ladies Hack Day. It was sponsored by Emma, which is a company in Nashville. They're phenomenal. We appreciate all the things that they do to reach out to the community, to everyone in Nashville. I hadn't done any coding since I was in 6th grade. It was basic, literally, basic programming was the name of the language. And my program that I remember said, hello, 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 hello. That was it. So I came into this scared. And probably if you had said, I want you to come to a coding workshop with me, I would have said, no, that is not for me. But they used a mind fake. They said, we're going to make a Mother's Day card. It was coming up to May. It was the beginning of May. Yeah, Mother's Day. And they said, we're going to feed you We're going to have a great time. It's going to be a time with a bunch of other women. And guess what? I've been making Mother's Day cards my entire life. So that's what made Ladies Hack Day amazing. They hacked sociology, and they figured out how to involve women in programming. And that's how I began to gain my confidence. They had the Mother's Day programming. They then taught us our favorite game. They worked with us in Minecraft to teach us how to get that to work in the classroom. For me, most of the women were just people of different walks. I was one of the few teachers there. And of course it was fun. They had I don't know if you can tell what these are, but these are different things from Minecraft, creepers and piggies on cupcakes. Really neat event. And because I was tired, I had just gotten through HTML, I dealt with all that anxiety of doing something that I wasn't comfortable doing. They said, okay, now we're going to program in Python. That's a snake. I didn't know what it was. My brain was full. It sounded scary. If they had have told me that it was named after Monty Python, I probably would have stuck around. I would have been up for that. So, because I was invited to Women's Hack Day, it came to me through Facebook, just by chain. I didn't know anybody there. I was invited then by someone at that event to come to Hack Nashville, Hack 4. It was amazing, and I just got to hang out. I didn't know any programming, but people were saying, come sit with us, look at what we're doing. Hey, we're working with Raspberry Pis, and I was introduced to several things that I probably wouldn't have had exposure to otherwise, that I was able to bring back and use in other places. Because I was able to go to Hack Nashville 4, I met Yahweh Yay. Yahweh Yay is with the Mayor's Office for Innovation in Nashville, Tennessee. He and Jason Myers came to my school. This is it, West End Middle. Looks gorgeous, doesn't it? First time I walked in the door, I thought it's like teaching at Hogwarts. Anyway, they came in, they spoke with my principal. They said, we want to hold a young coders conference for your school. And because I knew Yahweh and I trusted him, I said, yes, let's do this. My principal said, no. He said, our school is old and we do not have the infrastructure to be able to plug in 30 Raspberry Pis. So, Jason didn't give up on me, thankfully. He invited me to a Young Coders Conference, and I was allowed to ghost Pi Tennessee as a young coder. I sat in the very back of the room, and I was not in this picture, but I was able to code just like one of the kids, and there was a watershed moment where at the end they said, okay, you've programmed all day, unplug your computer. Unplug my computer? Yeah, it's the little thing, right? That's your Raspberry Pi. This thing is what I've been programming on. Yes, it's about the size of a business card. It blew my mind, and suddenly I realized we could plug these in to the lab at school. That was fabulous. You need me to switch?
Yes, please.
Okay, I can't help it that my ears are shaped weird, sorry. Okay. Vulcan Genetics, no. It's turned on. There we go. All right. Because I went to Hack Nashville, because I went to the Young Coders Conference, because I was invited by someone, I met Lindsay Simon.
Easier it is to move in between these different services, then the more reason those different hosting providers have to compete. And then hopefully that drives prices down and we all win.
Can you hear me? Hello? Okay, are we good? All right. He told me something that blew my mind, and I should have known this before, but sometimes you just have to have someone come along when you're not feeling confident. And he said, you don't have to take no. I'd been told no several times, and I usually just go, oh, they told me no. But I'd ask again. But at this point, I'd said, they've told me no, I'm not going to have a Young Coders Conference. He said, you don't have to take no. There are ways around this. And it got me thinking. Then I went to Click with Jason Orendorf. Can you see there were several people that were trying to do things and reaching out? There were several people that were grabbing a hold of folks and saying, come to this event. You're welcome to be a part of our community. It was the most wonderful thing. Jason Orendorf held a conference at one of the local charter schools, and he said, we would like teachers to volunteer to come on the weekends and learn how to program in Scratch. We will put a programmer with you so you can learn this. The people in Metro laughed at him, sent out the email anyway. We had teachers show up without pay, without CE credit, because the teachers are actually hungry to learn these things, and we do want to bring them to our students. Thank you, Jason Orendorf. Nashville Women Programmers, another wonderful group to deal with. They introduced me to WordCamp. WordCamp was a wonderful experience, but just knowing the Nashville Women Programmers, seeing other women that were actually doing this, kind of gave me a heads up of, this is possible. This is entirely possible for me to learn this and to become competent at it. So I went to PodCamp and to WordCamp. It's really amazing when you start looking at this. There's just a series of little things that happened. I do think they're replicable. I was invited at PodCamp to speak on a podcast. I'm so excited. The very idea of being on radio, but then I realized, oh, it's just out there on the internet. Nobody's going to hear me. It's not the case. There was a gentleman that heard my podcast. I'm telling them on the podcast several of the same things that I'm telling you all. And he took pity on me because one of the big problems is the lack of information. It's very hard to go from 1800 skills, which is kind of where we are. We're still teaching some of us, you know, they've given us whiteboards, which is really just chalkboards. We're still in a past century. But to take someone like me and for me to move up to where I'm programming, I really could use a little bit of assistance. And so I was asking for someone to tutor me. And that is how I met my tutor. He's been fabulous. He has met with me for the past 5 weeks. I think, okay, but I won't talk about him yet. I'll talk about the Circuit Benders Ball. Another gentleman in our community, not this guy. This guy started circuit bending. He's the father of circuit bending. How many of you ever done any circuit bending? Anyone? Oh, you're in for a treat. Okay, I didn't just run the Young Coders Conference. I also run robotics at my school. Because our team was the only Metro team to make it to BEST. How many of you know what BEST is? Thank you. Okay, BEST is like Apollo 13 for robotics, isn't it? Okay, so they give you a box of stuff and a piece of plywood. It's not Lego. You don't click it all together. They give you all this stuff, duct tape. Oh, you can use cans. You can use soup cans in your robot this year. But they tell you what your robot has to do. This year it had to reach out, grab something, turn over, drop that, and be able to pick up and manipulate things. It had to fold up into a 2x2x2 cube and unfold itself. And you had a limited number of servos and motors. It beat most of the teams in our district. Most of them could not figure it out. And we're competing against high school teams. Our team made it. And I was so proud of my kids that I contacted the mayor's office and I said, they have done something heroic. They have given 120 plus volunteer hours in 6 weeks to build this robot. I'd met Yahweh Yay through Hack Nashville because they were open. The mayor had already heard about me. He came out and he gave certificates to our kids. Because I had met the mayor there, they found an angel investor who was willing to have my kids come out to Fort Houston, for makerspace in our community. They sponsored our robotics banquet, and they found someone who was willing to teach my kids t-shirt printing so we can print our own t-shirts. It's really starting to look like a Rube Goldberg machine, but it is replicable. It doesn't have to look exactly like this, though. Anyway, because I was at the t-shirt printing thing at Fort Houston, I found out they were doing a Circuit Benders Ball. And they said, would you like to come circuit bend? I said, Sure. No idea what it was. They handed me a little toy. It had a cat. You push the cat and it says meow. You push the cow and it says, oh good, some of you are familiar with this. This is good. Okay, so we pop the back off of that. We find the sweet spot, and you can find that by wetting your finger on a sponge. Please don't lick your finger and do that. You don't know where these things have been. So you wet your finger on a sponge and you touch the little spots where it's been soldered, and it'll make it go roar. It's wonderful. Wonderful. And so we took that apart and we put in a resistor and a photoresistor. And so now when I switch the little switch that I put on the front of it, my cat says tweet. I brought that thing to school and it blew my kids' minds. They were so excited. They went home and they started researching circuit bending. They want to do anything that I ask them to do. If I hold a Young Coders Conference, I'm going to have people sign up, but I'm still getting no. You know, things are slow to change. But anyway, if you haven't, since you're not familiar, Reed Ghazala, father of circuit bending, created some amazing sounds that had never been heard before just because something shorted out in his desk drawer. It's Kismet. Luck. Anyway, because I went to Hack Nashville 4, I was invited to Hack Nashville 5. When I ran into the people from the mayor's office, they invited me to go to the National Day of Civic Hacking. Did any of you get to participate in that? Thank you. Okay, so some of y'all have some notes to take, some things to catch up on here that you can find out about and get involved in. But there were open data sets, things that people had nursed along and kept like little chicks. And suddenly they were sharing them with the world. And I took half the day off to go in on Friday and listen to this. And you could see them. They were so proud of their bus route data. They had very meticulously kept it, and they were sharing it with you. And so this Civic Hack Day was about taking these data sets and doing something cool with them. And my job was to come up with something cool. And so my proposal was that we take the data sets on the historical markers, and that we use a gamification so that if you visit these places, then you get some sort of sticker or something. Now, there were some guys that listened to that, guys and ladies, and they said, oh, that's a great idea. And then it turned thing that had art projects, and it had all these great levels, and if you haven't been anywhere, you start off as a couch potato, and then you get out and you start doing things, and it gets the kids out in the community, and they would get credit for walking and riding a bus. And I learned a program in JS Reveal that day. I actually created our JS for that, and I'll be able to bring that into my classroom this next year. We'll start out with PowerPoint. By the end of the year, I expect them to code a JS Reveal. But anyway, our team won first place. That's me. That's amazing. To have been involved in something like that, to have actually contributed some code to GitHub. Fantastic. Okay, and so this summer, you can see I've been involved in getting my own education. I was invited to go to ISTE, International Society of Technology Educators. And you can't tell how big it is. It was huge. There were like 10,000 teachers there and several more vendors, I think. I also went to the STEM think tank. Now, clearly I pursued my education. The thing I need you to know, you cannot pursue what you do not know is there. Remember, some of us are still back in the early 1900s. We are not familiar with listservs. We don't know what an IRC is. We probably aren't even involved on Meetup, and even if we are, we don't know to Google Python Users Group, National Day of Civic Hacking. These code words are just not available. By the way, that's a snipe hunting bag. Any of you ever snipe hunt? Okay, good. Just wondering. If you haven't been snipe hunting, I will gladly gather anyone together after the conference and take you snipe hunting this evening. This is not a part of your education that we should be remiss in. But anyway, you cannot pursue what you don't know is there. So I'm going to talk about what works. We don't have to recreate the Rube Goldberg machine. There are two things that I see in this that you can pull and bring to other teachers, which will trickle down to their students. Encouragement and opportunities. And as I said, you may say, well, my opportunities are out there already on the website. They're probably not going to know that unless you actually talk to them. So you're going to need to find them. Usually we're in classrooms. We're in things called schools, and they chain us to the desk. No, not really. We are stuck there, though, a lot. And so meet a teacher. Find the ones that are interested in this and invite them to things. I was invited to Young Coders and to all of these other things by friends that I met in the community. And sometimes it may be, you know, sending invites over the mail, but the relationships has been one of the biggest things. Let a teacher ghost a student conference. And by the way, call it a grant. You know, make a big deal. Send a note to their principal. Now, I'm not saying go back and do that for me. I don't care. I'm talking about how do you reach this community. Make it a big deal. Call it a grant and let the Pi Foundation write the letter. Okay? And that begins to get a buzz. Well, that teacher got to go. Well, why didn't I get to go? Well, maybe you could. Maybe you should apply. Please adopt a teacher. I don't know if many of you know very many of us, but we're pretty nice people, especially in the summer when we have about 2 months off. Not really off, but time to pursue our education, and we're interested in educational opportunities. And this is my opportunity to get to publicly say thank you to the people who have been kind enough to tutor me. Amber Adams from the Nashville Civic Brigade. She's the one that hosted the National Day of Civic Hacking for our city. She's taught me several things about programming, helped me get my own GitHub set up. Brett Davis from Ember Logic Solutions is my tutor. And Barbara Erickson from Georgia Tech, who taught me how to program on my telephone. That was the most amazing thing. It let me realize that really nothing's magic. The first time that I programmed that, and it was just drag and drop, App Builder, MIT, and I took my phone and I jingled it and the cowbell rang. It's not magic. It's possible. Anybody can do this. But a special thank you to Brett Davis, who stuck in there with me. He's really hung with me for the last 5 weeks. He's taken an hour out of his life, maybe 2 sometimes, to work with me. He's taught me about security. He's talked to me about ports, a little bit about hacking, but not enough to get me in trouble, because I don't want to get him in trouble either. But I said, okay, we've learned all these great things. Now it's time for you to teach me Python. Because statistically, you look at where the universities are going. You look at where the people in the know on computer science are going. They're teaching their newest programmers Python, because Python is a simple to learn language. They start with Scratch so they can see how programs hang together and work, and then they move to Python. So I said, okay, this is the reason why I need to know Python. You're here to teach me this. He said, I don't know Python. I said, okay, what do you know? Cold Fusion. So I am now learning Cold Fusion, but I would love to also learn Python. I've had a couple of people who have said they're willing to pick that up and begin to work with me. And yes, I have gone online, and yes, I have done code.org, and yes, I have done Python the hard way. And it turned out to be, I messed it up somehow, and then there wasn't anybody to tell me, even though I went back and I tried it 4 or 5 times. I don't know what I did to it. Something bad. Anyway, I'll figure it out eventually. So let's talk about Jason Orr. He did. His conference was called Click. This was brilliant. He spoke the district's language. He said, we're going to hold, keyword, workshop. Remember that. That will open doors for you. You talk to the people in the technology department of your district, and you say, to host a workshop to teach teachers about Python, Scratch. I'd start with Scratch. I really would. because once they see the little cat, they begin to relax a little bit. They provided lunch. We're not used to that. We're not used to an hour lunch. You take your kids to the cafeteria, you drop them off. You settle anybody that's arguing and quibbling. You get your lunch, you get back. You have 5 minutes to eat before you have to turn around and come back and get your kids. They gave us an hour lunch, and they brought it in for us from a nice restaurant. Very good idea. It meant a lot to the teachers to do that. And they provided time for us to code with a well-informed other. Remember the anxiety? When I had, and it was Brian that's running the conference, sat by me. He was my other. And just having him there, I felt as calm as when I used to have my teddy bear at 3 sitting by me. I can do this. And after a while, he had to wander off and just get coffee because I was doing it. I had it. It was fabulous. Okay, what has less effect? Going to school. None of us knew that at the time. And what Yahweh Yeh and Jason tried to do was heroic, and I really appreciate them for it. But we have so many vendors that come to our school. There are so many people that think right now that education is a cash cow. There are so many people right now who are building programs and things that they feel like you need to be using in your classroom, and you need to pay $6,000 for the license for your school. So many. And so many of them start off with, and this is free. And so Jason came in, but this is free, and this is what he got. No. So you've got to be careful about that. You've got to be careful about what you say, too, because teachers, we're tied into everyone. And not that anybody in the community would ever say anything negative about a teacher, but you just have to be really careful once you get in. You know, we are a bit behind the times, but we've got good minds, and we can catch up. We are teachable, I hope. Most of us. Okay, what motivates teachers? What is it that will help us want to climb this mountain? Feeling like we're knowing what we're doing makes us feel super. There he is. Huh? Absolutely. Absolutely. And so if you can give the teachers the curriculum and training that you want them to teach, that'll help most of them. Most of us are not probably geeky enough to go out and just pursue it the way I have. So we're going to need a little bit of a broader, smoother pathway. But I believe that it's possible. I believe that that can be done in this community. If any community of developers can do it, you all can. So curriculum and training would be first step. Having an experienced other. Someone that's sitting in the training with us. Someone that's willing to tutor. If you can think of a teacher that might be interested in this and reach out to them, being that well-informed other can make such a difference. This is the big thing that you all may not know about, CE credit. We have to have a certain number of continuing education credits. Well, I don't. I have enough masters and other hours because I just love learning, and I've pursued enough of it that I don't. But many of us, if you can work through the district and get them to consider this professional credit, that will open more doors to you. You're going to find ways that it directly relates to the curriculum. We'll teach you how to program this so that you can teach your kids this, which ties directly to Common Core, which is what the thing is right now. It may change in a little while, whatever the thing is. But tie to the curriculum and get that through those official channels, official credit, official little certificates. If you make it official, they will actually let us out of school for a day. Give teachers an opportunity when they're tired to get away from school. Feed them. You'll have more teachers than you really know what to do with. And appreciation. The people that have mentioned my work on their blog, the people that have mentioned me on Twitter, the podcast, it meant so much to me, and it meant a lot to several of us. But as I said early 1900s, some of us still really love thank you notes. Slip a thank you note into the little box in the office, and they'll just about dance for that. Small gifts are nice, but for me, just hey, great job is good enough. Now, if you create a plan in your community, you have a curriculum that you're teaching, you have how it ties back to the curriculum that they're supposed to be teaching, you have channels through which you're giving CE credit, you have gifts of scholarships to Young Coders Conference. Once you have a plan, here's what the NEA does, the National Education Association. They have an annual awards ceremony. You don't have to make this travel out of state thing. You can do it in individual states. But if you will have an award ceremony and award the teachers that are doing the things you want them to do, you will get more teachers doing those things. So help them set up a Mozilla backpack and give them badges as they complete your trainings would be another suggestion. Now, okay, all this has been about teachers. You may be ready to say, oh, sorry, that's not there. What's in it for me? But I'll get to that in a second. I forgot. Work your politics. Get to know the people that are making the decisions. Right now we are in a test and punish environment. I'm saying that on record. I won't say much more than that. But, you know, when you have a situation where you have to teach for a test, the things that aren't on the test are not as likely to be taught. So right now there's a debate on whether or not we're going to teach handwriting. It's pretty much gone away. Handwriting is not taught on the test that figures into our professional evaluations. Python is not tested on the test that is figured into our professional evaluations. We might want to look at the test. We might want to look at the way that that's being delivered. We definitely need to work our politics to get that changed. We might even want to consider having computer science count as a science or a math class. We could teach them in tandem. There's no reason you couldn't teach 5th grade science in tandem with Python if you had it well thought out. Please support your allies in education. You're going to have to get to know them first to figure out how you can do this, but support can take many forms. Letter writing, supporting what a teacher's doing when she's doing Young Coders conferences. Support local justice issues. Our students that are struggling, that I really want to this technology, are the students on the other side of the digital divide. They don't have access to the internet. I thought they had a little bit. I was under the impression that they were being provided inexpensive internet. I found out 2 weeks ago that with that internet they can't even stream videos. That's not modern web. If you can't get on Khan Academy and stream videos, then you don't really have access. So not only is teaching behind, but all of these kids are being left behind. There's brilliance that we're leaving on the table because it's not accessible, because the skills are not accessible. So social justice issues, making sure everybody has access. Tutoring for kids, tutoring for teachers, tech drives. I had 3 kids come to me after the Young Coders Conference and say, I need keyboards. One of them came to me immediately afterwards. I said, okay, I got this. I went home and I got him a keyboard. It was 12 years old, 13 years old. Remember those old purple Macintosh keyboards, little purple mouse? Okay. Yeah, I thought he's kind of a tough kid. I thought he would kind of bristle at me. I handed him that keyboard. Do you know what he did? He did this. I had 2 more I couldn't give keyboards to. We need to make sure that the tech is available for them. If we're going to send them home with Raspberry Pis and cords and ways to plug into their TV, they need to have a keyboard too. So, and you all probably have some laying around your house. You're computer programmers. How many of you have extra keyboards? Thank you for being honest. The rest of you, it's okay. We love you anyway. Okay, so tech drives, working your politics in many other ways. The needs are going to vary based on the situation. There's only one way you can know what the needs are, though. You're going to have to get to know the teachers to find out what their needs are, to find out what they need to know next, and to find out how to help the kids access this. Now, oh, this may actually work. Maybe. Oh, no, 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 no. Sorry. Can you hear that?
Watch a movement happen, start to finish, in under 3 minutes, and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore. It's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. So it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out and you brave ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that really makes the fire. Now here's the second follower. This is a turning point. It's proof the first has done well. Now it's not a lone nut and it's not two nuts. 3 is a crowd, and a crowd is news. A movement must be public. Make sure outsiders see more than just the leader. Everyone needs to see the followers, because new followers emulate followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, then 3 more immediately. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point, and now we have a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they were on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now.
It was after they found the funding for me to have this that I said, we have funding. Let's do this. I don't know. I have funding to give every child a Raspberry Pi. Let's do it the last week of school. You're not teaching anything anyway. You're watching videos. I'll let you talk to the leadership committee. They said yes. And so it was an amazing thing to finally get to yes, and we got to yes because one guy, Jason Myers in this case, and me, were both willing to look a little bit foolish. Oh, why isn't that working? There we go. Okay, so what's in it for me? Now we've gotten down to it. What's in it for me? Studies have shown that when you help other people, you feel happier. Most of us like that. Happiness is good. The studies also show that it improves your health. Now, strangely enough, the person who helps has better health. The person who is helped, not necessarily. It doesn't necessarily improve their health, but helping other people does promote long life and health. It creates social connections. The people that have reached out to me and that I have in turn reached out to, we've built friendships because we have a common goal that we're working towards. It evokes gratitude, not just from the teachers or the kids that you work with, but it helps you remember people who have been kind to you. And so it's good to have that moment of just feeling that gratitude for what other people have done for you. And your kindness is contagious, which makes for a better community for all of us. So here are a few pictures, recent fruits of our labor. Here's some of the kids from my Young Coders Conference. You can see we were in the library. I had 5 students help me tear down the lab and rebuild it so that we could do Raspberry Pis the day before. Here's my group. 50% of the students were free and reduced lunch. You can't tell which ones, but they were. And you can see that we had every shade of the rainbow represented. You want to see how do we get diversity in programming? There's your start. And sometimes ability can really come from unexpected places. We don't know who's going to have the answer to these questions. the questions that we're facing now. Somebody has a solution. But if we're not able to reach out to them and help get them in this pipeline and help them learn programming, we won't ever get those solutions. So we need to make sure that we're reaching out to all of them and making this a possible path. And be patient with the process. Sometimes that's tough. Change is possible. It's large organizations. Metro Nashville has almost 100,000 students that it's dealing with. And so change is going to be a little bit slow, but it can happen. It's just taking it one step at a time. We can get there if we're working towards it. So, if you like what you've heard, here's my contact information. You can contact me on LinkedIn. amyeflatt@gmail.com is the email, and that's also how you find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, AmyFlatt1. I'd love to be able to keep up with you all. And if you really like my speech or work that I'm doing, feel free to show your support at GetTip. I can't believe I have a GetTip account. That's pretty cool. Miss Lady Chick is where I am for that. So we've got just a couple of minutes. I can't believe I almost filled a whole hour in front of adults. Didn't pass out. That worked out pretty well. Any questions for me? Yeah.
You'll know how the distribution of the computers went next year? Did they go out like a month ago? Is that what I heard?
At the end of May, I got to give everyone a Raspberry Pi that we knew was working when they went home. Yes. And when I get back to school, I would like to do a Python club. I don't know that much Python yet. So I'm going to be getting in touch with the Python user group, but they do feel like they will be willing to come out and do some projects with my kids. So I'm already thinking about how do we reach that next step? How do we get kids from that very beginning class to being able to program more advanced things, being able to create things that have many, many lines and debug them? That's our next step. Other questions or comments? Yeah. Absolutely. And thank you so much for what you're doing. I think that's outstanding. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I agree with you. Yes.
I just have a comment, and it was just kind of a link to this. I saw this morning. So there's an advocate for the computer science curriculum reform going on in the United Kingdom. His name is Simon H. Jones. He's also one of the inventors of the Haskell language.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a couple of different interesting talks that have been posted to YouTube that talks about similar issues here. And so it's interesting to see how where he's taken the curriculum, which used to be basically teach MS Word to kids, and how he wants to try and integrate both more technology and more of the computer science, where you can do computer science without even having to learn a specific technology. Something the skills are usable and they go beyond the languages that they're invented in. And so, if anyone wants to see that, check out the name of Simon H. Jones.
Simon Peyton Jones. Yeah, they actually use that in the young coders here. They were doing that this morning. It's a very good thing. It seems to me, though, that yes, we need the reform. We have to get our politicians to agree that we need that reform. We have to make the change so that computer science is treated as a science instead of an elective. And we need to get the teachers coding so that they can use it as a tool in their classroom. Right now, I see a lot of PowerPoints. And that's what I coded today. Now, I started out with JavaScript and ran out of time. So, because I'm not very fast at it yet. I made a mistake. I couldn't quite get it debugged. But I hope to go ahead and get this put into JavaScript and get it put up on my GitHub for you all. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yes?
I was teaching Second Life in Open Sims with the about 4th and 5th graders, and what I found interesting is that I couldn't get them interested in the coding at first until I found something that they were interested in doing. And first thing I did was, since I mostly had boys, was had them build a 3D basketball court. And they built the basketball court and made their graffiti and all around it. And then it came to the point, it's like, okay, now how do we play? And that was like, okay, now you're ready to learn scripting. And because now they wanted to know how to make it so they can dribble the balls and shoot it. And I'm like, okay, now you're ready. And then they went from scratch from there. So.
Very good. I love hearing other teachers' successes. You know that Odesk is free now, right? Yes, the Obama administration, working with some of the different companies, has pulled some free software for schools, and so now we have AutoCAD and Odesk and the other things they make. Very exciting to know about that. Any other comments or questions? All right. Oh, yes.
Just want to say that you're doing a great job and just keep pushing. I served as a camp counselor, and I kind of bridged the gap for my kids by combining computers and mathematics and making my own smart board out of a flat screen TV and a laptop. But it worked really well because I saw that they had like math anxiety. And so I was just very honest with them. I said I had it, and this is how I went about getting rid of it. I told them that you may not like math, but you'll be comfortable with math. And that's really what you want. You want them to be comfortable, whether it's with math or with programming, and that it's not so much a scary thing anymore, but it's something that's very approachable. It's, I think my physics teacher told me it's not about it being difficult as much as it being challenging. And it's really just kind of, reframing things for kids, getting them excited and getting them on board. And you can really see things take off. So, doing a great job.
Thank you. I like the phrasing: difficult, challenging. All right. Thank you all so. Oh yes, sorry.
All right, we got time for one more quick question.
all we have to do is go on and register yourself in the school or whatever and ask for the support of the material and actually train you more than one to donate back to the team. So, active security is there for you.
Can we specify which hardware?
That I don't know. So I'm sure in the comments,
Because I know my principal would not be thrilled with me if we just started getting all of this just random stuff. Space
a lot of the stuff
satellites.
we're giving away now is based on the regular advisory.
Yes.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right, let's thank our speaker. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we'll have our next